Okay. Oops. Okay, so actually we talked about the sources of economic growth before, right? But in this lecture, I would like to elaborate more regarding about sources of economic growth. In particular, look at some of the empirical evidence on Taiwan's data. Okay, so okay, you have this before, right? We can decompose the sources of output growth into three components. The growth of output equal to the growth of the capital and growth of labor, okay, and also together with the growth of the productivity. And usually the growth of productivity is the residual from growth of output minus the growth of the inputs. Then the something left is the technology change. Okay, so in diagrammatic analysis is to decompose AC from A to C to AB, which is the factor accumulation, and to BC, which is the technological change. And we know that in the long run, for the growth of the economy relied on the technological change. And the factor accumulation only has a short-run transitional effects. In the long run, capital will stop accumulate, and therefore growth will also stop in the long run. So in the long run, you have to rely on technological change. So important analysis for these sources of growth is to see what parts or elements actually contribute to the growth of the economy. Okay, if the growth of the economy depends on factor accumulation, then it's only a temporary effect. If growth mainly from technological change, then it can sustain the growth of the economy. And here is the growth accounting for the OECD, major OECD countries during their rapid growth period from 47 to 73. As you can see that average annual growth rate for these advanced countries somewhere around 5 to 6%. Okay, and even for UK have 3.7, and the United States 4%, and for Japan it's 9%. Okay, so this is the rapid growth period for the advanced country, and due to the you can calculate the contribution by the capital, contribution by labor, and then you get a residual by minus these two from the output growth, and then you get the contribution of TFP, total factor productivity. Total factor productivity is the productivity measure for the whole economy. Okay, so you can see from here is that the capital accumulation, okay, about 40, somewhere about 40%, and TFP contributions around 50, even 63 for Japan, and 33 for France, 34% for France, for Canada. France is 45, 46 for Germany, Italy 63. Okay, and so you can see that most of the advanced countries' economic growth is mainly from what? From the technological change, which is due to productivity growth. We can also look at the East Asian countries from 66 to 90s. This is also a rapid growth period for the four Asian minks, or four Asian tigers: Hong Kong, Singapore, South Korea, and Taiwan. And you can see that the growth rate of those economies is Hong Kong 7.3, Singapore 8.5, South Korea 10.3, Taiwan 9.1. Okay, so these high growth rates, even higher than the rapid growth period of the developed countries. Okay, so this is called newly industrializing economy, which has a remarkable growth for the economy from 60s to 90s. And if you do the same analysis, then you can see that most of the growth, okay, came from capital accumulation. Okay, for Singapore, it can up to 73%, and for Taiwan and Korea and Hong Kong, it's over 40%. Can be contributed to capital accumulation, and the labor somewhere about 20 to 30%. So if you add these two together, it's over 3/4 of the growth came from GDP, came from capital and labor. And as for the sector productivity, the growth of sector productivity is much smaller than the growth of the inputs. And even for Singapore, it's even worse that the growth of the total sector productivity is minus. And the minus sign of the Singapore is mainly because Singapore hugely relied on the foreign capitals. Okay, so you can see that the technology contribution for the growth of the Asian economy is minimal, or at least it's less significant as the growth by the inputs. So you can make these sharp distinctions between OECD countries and East Asian countries. Okay, OECD countries, they find that growth from technological change. For Asian economy, it is growth through sector accumulation. Okay, so if you find out this through this source of growth or the growth accounting analysis, then you should be able to draw a completely different forecast based on this regarding about economy. The economy in this country, the advanced countries, they will be able to sustain its growth in the long run. As for this economy, even it has a remarkable growth rate, but however, it tells you that this economy will slow down eventually. Okay, the long run growth is not sustainable. Okay, so that's the major implication that you can derive from this kind of analysis. And it is based on this analysis, Paul Krugman has a paper. He had a paper in 1994 in Foreign Affairs. His paper, based on this analysis, he actually concluded that those 4 Asian tigers, they are actually paper tigers. Okay, because their growth relied on sector accumulation. Okay, so this famous paper, together with the 1997 financial crisis, which heavily hit the Asian economy and makes the whole Asian economy growth of this Asian economy slow down for a substantial period of time, and that actually in some way consistent with the prediction by this model that growth will not sustain in the long run. So this is a kind of analysis that we can use growth accounting and make a very important implication from the result, sector accumulation or technological change. Okay, and this is another thing that we can do is in the so-called endogenous growth theory. Okay, which actually incorporates the contribution by the quality of people. Okay, as you can see that here we are not only have capital labor but also H represents human capital. So if you view that human quality, which is also an important type of the so-called human capital, then we can put human capital together with physical capital. Okay, and then our sector accumulation includes capital, labor, and human capital. These 3. Okay, and then we can see whether by incorporating the quality of human capital. Okay, but the importance here is that human capital can actually play two roles in the economic development. One is viewed as a kind of input. That's why we put in here. It's a kind of input, just like physical capital. But it can also viewed as it can also view as an important element for technological change. That is why we call endogenous growth. What explains the change of technology? Then technological change can be defined as a function of human capital, which means the quality of human beings. Actually, the higher the age, the more likely that technology will progress. Okay, so you see, you can find a positive relation between the human capital and technological change. So in that case, then human capital has two effects. One is effect as an input, okay, and the other is that it even affects this technological change. Okay, so empirical testing is that we can do the empirical testing by putting the growth rate of the simple economy and regress this growth rate on the initial income level. The Y0 is initial income level, and here is the long run average growth rate. Okay, and also rely on capital. Here is the variable proxy for capital investment divided by the output, the investment share, and also the total population, growth of the population. Okay, which as a growth for the labor force, and also you put the log of what of the technology of the human capital, and the human capital usually in empirical analysis we use the enrollment rate or schooling, year of schooling. Okay, year of schooling or enrollment rate for the variable of human capital. Okay, and then you plus a bunch of control variable, control on the size of the economy, control on the government expenditure, and also control on the location, geographic location of the country, for example. Okay, and also control for the political stability of the economy. Okay, Z variable is the control variable. So in here you can actually run the regression to test this alpha in front of the human capital. Okay, so if this alpha is predicted to be positive, right? Because the quality of human capital, increase the quality of human capital has a positive contribution on the output growth of the economy. Okay, and here you expect this to be negative in the sense that the lower the economy actually grows faster. Okay, so if you're starting from below, if you have a growth, you grow faster. The growth rate will be faster because you're starting from below. Okay, so it should be negative. So the more advanced country grows less than the more poor countries, the poorer countries. Okay, so growth mode for so the less economy grows faster, and the developed economy grows more. The growth rate is smaller, so you have a negative in here, and these two should be positive too. The contribution is positive, investment and population. Okay. So in the broadly defined growth theory, you can define capital by including human capital, and also you can include in infrastructure capital, right? Capital infrastructure, or you even can put into effect by the institutions, can be as a kind of capital. Okay, institutions, and also the so-called public capital or the social capital. So you can put all kinds of capital in a sense if you want to emphasize that from the physical or visible capital to invisible capital. So you can put other type of capital such that you can have more broadly defined capital. Okay, and moreover, you can also emphasize the spillover effect by those capital. The spillover effect reflects on learning by doing. Okay, as you input more physical capital or more human capital, people learn more, learn faster. So then you can also put another extra externality into that. Okay, or you can even emphasize by the endogenous growth theory by putting R&D and innovation, or technology transfer through foreign direct investment, for example, or assimilations, learning and imitations, that kind of stuff into the model. If you take that kind of argument into the model, actually you try to reduce the rooms that can be explained by technological change. Okay, so if you incorporating those kind of arguments through the endogenous growth theory, then you expect that the so-called solo residual, the delta A divided by A, the technological change, the source explained by the technological change will be squeezed to a minimum level. Okay, if those, by incorporating those variables into the model, explain most of the source of economic growth. If that happens, then we can say that we know more about the source of growth, because we no longer rely on the unknown technological change. Okay, because most of the source of growth can be explained by our economic variables. And in that case, we call endogenous growth model, because it explains the source of growth endogenously by economic growth model, by economic variables. Okay, so this is what has been done in the past 20 years. Either develop theoretical model such that you can specify an empirical model based on your theoretical model. Then you can incorporate those variables derived from your theoretical model that arguing that the growth is coming from these endogenous variables. Okay? So most recent empirical test is to incorporate those kind of arguments into the model and to do the analysis. Okay? So X is the testable variables. Okay? K, L, human capital, physical capital, and institutions, and also the social capital. Okay, learning by doing, technology transfer. These are all X variables, testable variables. And put some control variable. Control variable is a matrix of conditions, information to control for the factor associated with the economic growth. Income per capita, education, political stability, exchange rate, trade, physical, and monetary policy. These are control variables Z. And you can test for X and see what's going on X. Okay. And if you can explain this, and this is what we call, if you have this left, this is what we call the capital, the technological change. And Benhabit and Spiegel's 1994 paper is a typical cross-country study, empirical study. Okay, you put about nearly 100 countries together and look at their growth and explain by those Z and X variables. And their major findings from that kind of analysis, they find that human capital is the ordinary input or source of productivity growth. Countries with higher education tend to close the technology gap faster than others. And also, open trade is good for human capital accumulation. By opening trade actually helps the accumulation of human capital, and it is conducive to economic development. And at the macroeconomic level, human capital contributes greatly to the growth of aggregate productivity. Okay, according to the most plausible estimates, an extra year of intermediate level of education, means high school education, all other things being equal, it increased aggregate productivity by about 5% immediately and by a further 5% in the long run. So total together 10% increase in the aggregate productivity. So this again justify our argument that human capital not only as an input, it also affects technological progress. And here, by the empirical analysis, we find that the human capital accumulation actually affects the technology productivity. So if we can do this, we identify this, then the role played by technological change to explain growth will be smaller. Okay, because most of this explained by human capital. So this long-term increase is explained by contribution of human capital to technological progress through the development and adoption of new technology and the continuous improvement of existing production process. Okay, here just try to provide the rationale behind how human capital accumulation may affect technology progress. Okay, because it helps to develop through the development and adoption of new technology and the continual improvement in existing production process. In order to do that, you have to have better knowledge through human capital accumulation. Okay, so with a better human capital stock, you can adopt new technology and even apply this new technology to your countries and not make contribution to technological progress or efficiency improvement. So recent study also suggests that the quality of education could be just as important to productivity as its quantity. Okay, and that means that we not only look at the year of schooling, maybe the schooling quality is also as important as year of schooling, the quantity of schooling. Okay, the positive externality of the education and the training expenditure should also be taken into account. So in that case, then you can also consider about the externalities through the education and the training as well. Okay, as I mentioned, the human capital not only has the effect on technology and as an effect as the input, but moreover, the higher the level of human capital, it will generate extra positive effect as externality. And that can be considered as an argument for brainstorming. If you have a bunch of college graduates together, okay, you may be able to find a better solution. Then you have a bunch of primary school students together. You may come up with different solutions. Okay, and that is what we call the spillover or the externality of human capital. Okay, so it is also important if you want to take that quantity, quality, and also externality into account, and you can see how strong this human capital can affect the economy through so many different channels. And that is why we say that many empirical evidence showing that human capital is a very important source of growth, and its effect can be varied and contain quite complicated contents in explaining the growth of the economy. Okay? And a typical OECD country, human capital accounts for 22% of productivity growth in the period 60 to 90. These are all empirical results. Okay? 45% of the productivity differential with the same average in 1990s. About 2/3 of each of these percentages reflects the direct impact of schooling on the level of productivity, while the remaining third reflects its contribution to technological progress. Okay, so here to show you the evidence that human capital actually did affect technology progress and also affect the level of technology. It also estimates that direct economic return to schooling investments that are captured by macroeconometric studies are comparable to those available from investment in physical capital. Okay, so these estimates find that the schooling, the human capital effect, as important as the physical capital effect on the economic growth. That's the cross-country study. For Taiwan study, my paper making the same arguments and doing the empirical studies for Taiwan, I found that 46% of output growth in our manufacturing industries, okay, and in the so-called two-digit industries, okay, it's about 23 to 84%. That is come from human capital accumulation. Significant, and I also identified knowledge spillover effect was found within manufacturing sector, which means the externality of human capital. And for aggregate manufacturing, with a roughly 29% of total rate of return to education, education has an aggregate return around 29%. Okay, the private return is 7%, while externality effect is 22%. 7% is pretty much comparable with any estimate of private return. Okay, so private return only 7%, Okay, but you have total 29%, which means that you have the spillover externality effect can be as large as 22%. That's a remarkable magnitude of the spillover effect. So, which means that a country not only needs to develop its own physical capital for the working population, more importantly, the aggregate effect of human capital has a profound spillover effect for the whole economy as a whole. That is what I mean, the brainstorming effect, to be more easy to understand. The brainstorming effect of human capital is much, much stronger than what we perceive for the private return. Okay, it can be, from Taiwan's study, it can be as large as 3 times than the private return. Okay. And for two-digit industry, I also find the inter-industry effect, the effect across industry. Okay, measure 2 or 3 times its intra-industry effect. So cross-industry effect is more stronger than the within-industry effects of externality. So that is why the whole economy actually benefits from this externality, because the inter-effect is more stronger than intra-effect. And that is also explained why the aggregate spillover effect is so strong. And that finding, of course, contrary to the Lau and Yang proposition. Lau and Yang proposition is the proposition that we have from our previous analysis that the 4 Asian is the 4 paper tigers. Because in that analysis, they find that factor accumulation only a small proportion. Factor accumulation is the major source of economic growth, right? Therefore, no technological progress for Asian economies, right? But my argument, at least from Taiwan, I found that if I incorporate human capital, and human capital can explain 46% of the output growth in aggregate manufacturing. Therefore, it actually explains, and it also explains externalities, right? Therefore, if we take this into account, then you can see that this explains a large part of the technological progress through human capital accumulation. So if that's the case, then we are not a paper tigers. Actually, we have technological progress. That technological progress is actually reflects on human capital accumulation and also productivity improvement through human capital accumulation. And that's the major argument in here, that against the Lau and Yang proposition that at least for Taiwan is not a paper tigers. Okay, we have technological progress, but that technological progress is through human capital accumulation. And also, open trade broaden this opportunity and hence increase the return to human capital accumulation. And by opening up trade for Taiwan, it has also helped the accumulation of human capital for Taiwan. So here actually also identify a positive effect from opening trade. Okay, it's through what? Through increase the return to human capital, therefore accelerate accumulation of human capital. And that accumulation of human capital is going to increase the level and also the growth of the technology progress. Okay, so in that sense, then it can sustain the growth of Taiwanese economy in the long run. It's not a paper tiger. Okay, that's my major contribution and also argument on this paper. And here is another paper. Indeed, his paper is also making the same argument by incorporating human capital, okay, in the model, and then he do the analysis. Okay, he do the analysis by doing the regressions, right? These are all positive. These are education, growth of education. This is growth of labor, growth of capital, and this is growth of output. Okay, so you can actually find that. So all variable and the constant terms, they are all significant. Okay, and also they accept this constant return argument. And one additional year of average, one additional year of the education is estimated to increase the real output by approximately 0.15% by increase 1 year. Okay, by increasing one additional year of education. So here E is the year of education. So increase 1 year, additional year of education will increase the the output grows by 0.15%. Okay, this is the result from this analysis. And by decomposing the source of growth, then you can see the source of growth is physical capital, labor capital, and human capital. Okay, human capital 24%. And here you have technological progress for 37.27%. Okay, that is his estimation. But my argument would be saying that this is still under overestimate, because human capital in this model only affect the growth through capital accumulation. Okay, did not in this model it did not incorporate human capital can be an effect directly affect technological progress. As I told you, A can be the change of A can be a function of H, and here they're not take that into account. So my argument is that if you take human capital into account of technological progress, this number will be even smaller. So that's my major argument in my paper. Okay, and here is put some other higher measure for the human capital. We have year of schooling in the previous one. Here is for higher education only, okay, for a year of higher education. And they find that higher education stock is estimated to increase output approximately by 0.19%, which is a little bit higher than the 0.15% for the average year. Okay, so higher education has a more significant effect on the growth than the average year of schooling. That's the major argument here. And here is another calculation to make it more complicated or sophisticated for the calculation of year of schooling. By putting this is the index for the year of schooling by primary year stock, then multiplied by 6 years of schooling, junior stock, junior years 9, senior stock 12, and college as a weight for 16, and the total involvement people to count for this major for the education. So you can have all kinds of major for the schooling, year of schooling, okay, or you take this weighted year of schooling, okay, or you can take an enrollment rate, okay. And here in his analysis, he further decomposed the education into different fields of study. Okay, by different major, different field of study, then they find that one additional % of graduates, okay, here even further distinguish the year of schooling into what field of study. Then they find that one additional % of graduates with the business of social sciences, agricultural sciences, and engineering, nature sciences major is estimated to increase real output by approximately 0.04 for the business and social science, 0.07 for agricultural science, and 0.09 for engineering and nature sciences. While no significant relations between economic growth and the humanity majors. Okay, humanity major has less, least or insignificant effects. And the most highly effect is from engineering and the science major. Okay, this is the findings. So by looking at industry sector, they find that higher education provides a positive and significant effect on industry output. Okay, at the industry level. The previous one is look at the aggregate economy level, and they find a 1% increase in higher education stock is estimated to increase their industry output by 0.35%. Okay, so you can see the industry output has a stronger effect by higher education. Okay, for the whole economy only 0.19%, but in industry output it has 0.35%. For developing countries, its industrial sector might need many high educated workers. Okay, so that actually derives an important implication that for a developing economy to develop, you need higher education for your workers, which is conducive to the economic growth. That's the major finding in here. So no significant effect between humanity and growth. Additional, this is for industry, okay? So you can see the numbers is different and higher for the industry output. This is for industry sector, okay? But pretty similar as the aggregate levels of the whole economy, okay? But for industry level, it's much more stronger. That's the major message, okay? For engineering and the natural science major have contributed much to Taiwan's industrial sector. Taiwanese government paid a lot of attention on the development of science and technology that could help explain its results. Okay, so Taiwanese government promotes most of the resources put into the emphasize the engineering and natural science education. That is why in most of the economy, even today, okay, we have the large group of students. They all major in engineering and natural sciences. And the university, which has the engineering and the natural science department, usually they get a large piece of funds from government. That is why in NCCU actually we receive small subsidies from government compared to Taida or Jiaoda or Qingda, which has engineering colleges and natural sciences. They usually get a large funding from government. Okay, so that explains, put more input into these kind of field of studies actually get rewarding in the sense that it helps the economy by increasing their input. Higher education provides positive and significant effect on service sector output as well. A 1% increase in higher education stock is estimated to raise output by 0.07%, but this increase is less than the increase in industry output. Okay, the impact of higher education on service sector output is much smaller than that in the industry sectors. So higher education, or especially the engineering major, has more stronger effect in industry sector than in service sector. That is for sure, right? Because industry needs more technology and science and technology. In services, they are not so keen to the technology and science. Maybe some kind of labor-intensive care is more important. Okay. And this is for the service sector. For the service sector, then you see that the field of study has less effect. Okay, and this is by looking at agricultural sectors. By looking at agricultural sector, again, engineering and the science major have significant positive effect on agricultural sector as well. Okay. Implying that a lot of technology workers might be needed to help upgrade production technology, because agriculture, just like in industry, they also need technology improvement more than service sectors. So you can find that engineering and also natural science majors help. Additional year of increasing number of graduates major in engineering is estimated to increase the agricultural output by 0.15%, which is of course higher than 0.07% for the service sector. Okay, and here is the children's graduate enrollment rate into the higher levels. This is primary enrollment rate into the enrollment rate of the elementary school. Okay, because in the 68 we implement the 9-year compulsory education. Okay, so you can see here before the 68, the enrollment rate for junior high school, okay, that's about from 30 to 50%. Okay, but we have 6-year compulsory school education, so this is over 100% for the enrollment rate in elementary school. But in the junior high school, it was not until the implementation of 9-year education, compulsory education, that we reached almost 100% again. But before the implementation of the 9-year compulsory education, we only have 35% in the early 50s. And in the early 60s, only about 50%. Okay. And then after that, we also see that the implementation of the 9-year compulsory education also helped to increase the enrollment rate for the senior high school, okay, senior high school, and also for the graduate university and college, and university and college, okay, the enrollment rate also increased over time as the economy developed. Okay, and here it reached almost 95% now today. So that's a very high enrollment rate, which means that 96% of the senior high school graduates, they also enter into university and college. Okay, and that has to do with the year 2000. After year 2000, especially, okay, the so-called expansion of higher education institutions. Okay, the expansion of higher education institutions in the late 90s and early year 2000, you see that the enrollment rate for the higher education kept increasing over time, and now reached 96%. Okay, and this change for the past 15 years is mainly due to the so-called expansion in higher education institutions. Now we have about 167 colleges and universities on this island. Okay, 167 colleges and universities. Okay, and that also explains why we have such a high enrollment rate for the college and universities. Okay, and then you can see that this is for the elementary school, and this is for the junior high, and the college. They all converge to near 100% now. So today it is easy to be college graduates. Okay, for most of the students, they can actually find a school, a university, okay, to study. Okay, in this island, it's pretty common now. Yeah.
If you're actually not enrolled in university, or if you don't have a university,
you can find a job, but once everybody has the graduate diploma, then it doesn't make any difference. Right? Okay, but in the before, it does make a big difference. Usually, the college graduates they get a better pay than senior high school. Okay, but now everybody has the same college education, so it makes no difference now. And that also explains why at the moment the college graduates, their salaries remain pretty stagnant.
And does that also explain why there's a lot of people that have to be brought in from other countries, like for example
to do some manual jobs? Yeah, that's true. That nowadays you can see that we have a lot of college graduates. And in contrast, we are short of the low-skilled laborers, right? So we have to import those foreign workers from abroad, especially for this kind of low-skilled job. Because for those college graduates, they don't want, even there is a demand for that kind of low-skilled type of job, but they don't want to be engaged in that kind of jobs or working conditions. Therefore, they find themselves unemployed too, and that is also explained why we have very high unemployment rate for higher education graduates, and that also explains that their wage tend to be low because a lot of unemployed in there. So it means you have excess capacity of the supply. So that also makes the wage of the higher graduate of higher education remain stagnant. That's why I'm saying that they are actually getting a very, very small or no growth in their salaries. Okay? Yes. You mean that it will going to have a long-term impact on the social development? In what way you think on social development? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But now that there are so many people graduating from national programs who only have bachelor's degrees,
Mm-hmm.
will be as outside of people who don't have a degree at all.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to make a difference that you have like a bachelor's degree or don't have a degree, because actually so many people try to work the math. You know, those people who don't have it, like
Mm-hmm.
fall through.
Yeah. So what kind of social movement
Like either
or change?
go through with it, or there's like the other side of it is either really high, or people who find a job will have to pay a lower salary
Mm-hmm.
for jobs that they are overqualified.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's the time that people go lost.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
For example, if it's in China or
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
areas.
Yeah.
But yeah, those people who want to stay basically have to register or apply for another degree.
Yeah.
Be able to.
Yeah. 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 Once you all have the same, most of the people, they all receive these higher educations or university degree, then it makes no difference with others. So in order to make difference compare with others, then the one way is that you to study further to get a master degree. Okay, that's one thing, and that of course is another issue related to the so-called overeducation problem. And the other thing is that as you can see that there is so many undergraduates, and therefore you find the unemployment rate also increase. As unemployment rate increase, then those undergraduates, they find that it's not easy to find a job than before, especially during the economic downturn. So the best thing for them is remain at the education system by enrolled in further master studies to defer their unemployment later. Okay, so in this case, then you see the study for the master degree also increase. Okay, so that is the problem of expansion of higher education. So you see the oversupply of those higher education graduates, right? But the most important thing is not only from supply side, it is if the economy can generate extra demand for those higher education laborers by upgrading or structural change of the economy towards more, for example, skill-biased technological change applied here, or to upgrade your industrial structure such that it require more skilled labor than before, then it will be able to create enough jobs for those college graduates. So one way is that by expanding college graduates, the supply of college graduates, then you have to consider these people have to be able to find a job in the labor market, and therefore you have to create extra job for them. And the only way to create extra jobs for those new undergraduates is to make a structural change of the economy towards more knowledge-based, for example, more technology-based and knowledge-based economy, such that it relies more and more higher education workers, or workers with higher education. Otherwise, you will see that if the economy does not make an appropriate change such that create sufficient position of job opportunities, then you will find those college graduates, they will find that even get unemployed or even they find a job but with a very low wages. And that's the current situation in Taiwan. We did not actually generate enough job opportunity for them. And maybe you can say that because the supply of those college graduates is too fast through this college expansion, you know.
How can you prevent people from going to university? Because, at least
Well, in the past, yes, through exams. You have to pass the entrance exam because with limited spaces available in colleges and universities. You have to take exam, and I only screen certain proportion out of the population. Okay, so maybe only 20% of the senior high school graduate, they can get admitted to the colleges and universities through entrance exams. Okay, we used to have this kind of mechanism, but after we expand our higher education institution, then you can find a university somewhere to study with. So that's the problem in here. The good thing is that we have a bunch of higher education workers available, ready over there. But of course, another thing is that the quality is different from before, because now you have a large group of higher education institutions, right? But however, these new new higher education or university, their quality is inferior to our original one, okay? Because due to the expansion, usually their quality is much less qualified than the previous one. So if you take school quality into account, majority of those higher education graduates, their quality is less qualified than the previous graduates, maybe 10 years ago, for example. Okay, because a lot of these new college graduates, they are from private university or from a lower quality university. As the number of the university expands, actually a lot of less qualified universities also take into account. Okay, so the school quality is another problem. Okay? Questions? Comments? Okay? Okay. And this is the percentage of junior high and senior high school graduates entering advanced levels. Okay, so you can see in any case that they are approaching higher level. Okay, here just to make a calculation of the numbers. Okay. I think I will just skip this. Okay. Just calculate these levels of enrollment rate. And this is for the age of 6 to 11 children attending school. That due to this compulsory education policies, actually it reaches 100% now.